Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aiden.
And I'm Jack.
We've returned to the original format. I guess we've swapped Casey back out for Jack.
We'll get the three of us back on here together one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. The weeknight schedules for the three of us are a little bit tough and contradictory, but yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Jack, how you been? We haven't heard from you in a week or two.
Yeah, doing well. It's been a busy time. Uh all over the place, all over the state, back and forth, but to be back on the pod, excited that the Cannons are back. It was obviously I missed the recap episode, but it was fun watching Saturday night lacrosse. Their league's
Absolutely.
really trying to drive that home. It's funny because on the one hand, I'm like, it feels a little bit forced, but on the other hand, I was thinking about it in like Monday night football, Sunday night football. You hear that so often, and like those are established things, but even still, you see the Monday night football logo on the broadcast, and that made me realize, oh, like the Saturday night logo is like not forcing it. Like you kind of have to make it a thing for it to become a thing. So you just kind of go through that little awkward phase, I guess. But I digress. Point is, Saturday Night Lacrosse, cool, great to get the first ever official Saturday Night Lacrosse W. Cannons going down in history.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Boston New York rivalry. I feel like it pretty much lived up to the billing. No one threw hands, but we had some
but there's
chirps.
some chippiness.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I feel like especially after that shame series where like, Asher throwing, I forget if it was Razanka or Camizio to the ground
Yeah,
at the end of the game. And I mean, obviously like the most legendary final minute in the history of the PLL for sure. Um,
probably.
yeah. Um, yeah, great win. And it does, maybe it's just like the rain adds a little bit of cinema where like stuff glistens and shines a little bit more.
Hmm.
Lacrosse under the lights looks good. I'm sure the players didn't mind it. Well, probably a little colder than they would have wanted. But like Jackson, who we'll talk to in a second, it's going to be 90, 100 degrees out on that turf in Charlotte this weekend. I'm sure they wouldn't mind a
Baby.
after dark, little cool breeze, little cool drizzle. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure they'll be longing for the other one. And
Hmm.
just as much as the players are probably longing for some heat and sunshine in Albany last weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we got, two undefeated teams coming up in week two. Gonna try to keep our tradition going of doing a preview with the fan of the other team the Cannons are facing this weekend. So I think we can kick it over now to our conversation with Archer's superfan Jackson Van Vlake. Thank you to Archer super fan Jackson Van Vlake for coming on. You might recognize him from his two wins on the PLO Price is Right that I've hosted over the last month or so. Jackson, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, super happy to be here. And always a pleasure to talk some lax. So thanks for having me.
For sure, yeah. I mean, so I think most of the power ranking type content that came out this week had the Cannons and Archers at one and two, which I mean I can't really argue with based on week one performance. So it's kind of where I expect the teams to be all year. It almost feels like a bummer to have them play this early, but certainly I think a good measuring stick for both teams. Jackson, how you feeling about the Archers after week one?
Yeah, I do think the rain it didn't help anybody. I was super impressed with our defense. Just kind of picking up where they left off last year. Brandon Lavelle was just going out there and showing why he was the fifth overall pick. So really excited. I actually saw somebody call him and Graham Hossack the body baggers, and so I'm working on getting that on a t-shirt.
That's
Um,
sick. That's a great nickname.
yes. So really excited about that, and definitely some stuff to work on the offensive end. Unfortunately, it looks like Amon's not going to be able to play this week. It does sound like it's precautionary, so that's always a good thing, but definitely less than ideal. Obviously, we have Sam King to kind of slide in behind him and kind of take a spot, but it's hard to replace Grant Ament. So really looking forward. I think the face-off battle is going to be great. Hopefully, Owen Grant is able to play and we get a lot of action on the wings. That's just a weakness of ours, but I think he and Tucci have always had some good battles, so really looking forward to it. As long as it's not a repeat of the Boston Two Party last year, that would I'll be there in person for this one, and it would really suck to see that happen in person.
Yeah, I was really surprised just to talk about that last point. The only 2-point goals we had the first weekend was Zach Geddes and Zach Tucci,
Yeah.
which is
Wow.
yeah, like certainly not the two names you would have thought. I said this when we recapped week one. I felt like Matt Campbell passed up a couple chances to shoot from two.
100%.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I would love if they got another five in a game, but probably not likely. Yeah, I think it's a great test. Yeah, and Amen, not maybe not the biggest storyline from week one of him hurting his hamstring again, but definitely up there. And yeah, you hope he can go some point in the future, like in the very near future. But
Yeah.
um, Bates proven again, like getting Sam King, who was killer. Was it a goal and three assists or just the assists?
I think it was just the assists.
Yeah. But yeah, hell of a pro debut. Just I mean he slid into that spot pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
Certainly Jack and I know what he's capable of having watched him. Tewaaraton finalist at Harvard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know, Jack, anything to add?
No, no, definitely a big news though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we see a defensive scheme similar to what we did at Champ Series, where we know that y'all can shoot the two, so we have to press out and eliminate that, and obviously you're going to be shooting on Brett Dobson and not Nick Wishuta this time. So love Tubby, but yeah, I have a little bit more faith, and he may be taking some 12 and 13 yard shots as opposed to 6 and 7 yard shots. So hoping that the back end can kind of step up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we saw some of like the Atlas try to do that as well, and I think Ryan Drenner definitely fed off that week.
Mm.
Yeah,
Um, so I mean, we'll see. I would say I would rank Dobson and Entman pretty similarly in terms of like best goalie in the league. Dobson with obviously a little bit more of a track record, but yeah, I mean that strategy in Champ Series did. I guess it didn't work in the championship game, but we saw that evolve. We've seen that format evolve over the 3 years, and two is more than one. So I definitely you can't. I mean the game last year, right? Like they scored the same number of goals, but five of ours counted for two, and none of
yeah,
yours did. So
yeah.
um, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Tony Resch, he wants to buy his guys some ice cream. Does not want that to happen again.
They're getting it this week. But yeah, there will be. I'm sure there will be adjustments made based on
Yeah,
last year's game. So
absolutely. And to talk about the face-off battle, I was surprised that Sisselberger didn't do better against Nardella. I think he was only like 4 for 21, something like that.
it's the
Um,
wings.
yeah, I was not surprised to see Zach Tucci not do well against Trevor Baptiste. So hopefully he feels like his job is easier this week. And you got obviously some carpets, some vacuums with Rawl and Grant on the wings for Boston, and
Yeah,
obviously guys who love to push transition, and with Ethan especially, you can like really throw a well-timed stick check and get some turnovers. So
yeah,
that's going to be a fascinating part. I mean both teams obviously proved they can win a game without winning the face-off battle. So
yeah.
we'll see what impact that, if any. I would say probably going to not let Zach Tucci just walk down the middle of the field again.
Yeah, last year it looks like he was 13 for 19. Sis was 13 for 19, and that was week four. Was Tucci in at that point?
Yes, I believe the only game he missed was week one.
Okay, so there is a little bit of track record there, but um, I would say Owen Grant is an improvement at LSM. So
Yeah.
we'll see how much of a factor that is.
Yeah, and we'll see. I don't know if you heard Coach Holman's prediction that Ethan Rawls is going to get between three and five 2-point goals this year. We'll see.
Let's wait till week three to start that.
Yeah, I mean he was a toe away from it in Fairfield, off the face-off. So we'll see if that happens. Um, let's see. Any other specific? I mean, if you're looking for like, I guess Sam King is going to replace Amon's production. I'm trying to pull up the roster here to see
We'll
maybe.
we'll have Ambler back. Apparently, he was the best man in a wedding last weekend. That would be why he wasn't in the lineup.
Okay, yeah.
Um, so hopefully that in turn will get Schreiber going, and we'll get. I think we had. I don't even Schreiber. I know had a goal. Dyson, and Schreiber were the only two to have goals out of the midfield. So need a little bit more production there.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the weather was the primary factor, although I mean it didn't stop Boston very much. Um,
Well, they got going pretty late.
yeah, that's true. It's
So
4-4 at halftime.
I don't know exactly what the weather was like, but I think that it might have dried up a little bit
I
as the
think
game went on.
there was a little bit of a difference. I think.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It
Yeah.
was way worse during that first game. And do you have any info on Trey Leclerc? Because he's a
He picked up an injury with the Seals and has had surgery. It must be something similar to what the CJ Curse situation is going to be. I'm guessing he probably had two surgery 2 weeks earlier than CJ. So what I've heard is he's going to be back before the All-Star break. Um, as you can kind of see with Eamon, we're not rushing anybody back. However, I don't think the West is going to be as easy as we thought it was going to be. So we may have to start bringing some of these guys back a little quicker.
I mean, the Archers though, I maybe more than any other team just have so much depth where like obviously Leclerc is a great person to have. Like I believe he was 50% shooting last year, which is insane given
Yep.
like he wasn't 1 for 2 or 2 for 4 or anything. He like was a real offensive player who took a bunch of
Yeah.
shots.
Second team All Pro.
Yeah. Um, but it didn't really feel like he was missing last week. I know we were texting back and forth that Bryce Ford maybe not the elite offensive player that you wanted him to be, where
Yeah.
Amon or Leclerc would have been better in that slot, but I mean they won without him. So they won without, both of those
Yeah.
guys.
We won with no points from Mac, 1 point from Schreiber, going 4 for whatever it was at the faceoff.
Yeah.
Like they always say, defense
Against
wins
the
championships.
Whips.
Yeah.
Right.
So defense wins championships, and we've got the best one. So
Yeah. It's up there for sure. I mean, the fact that you point like what Matt Moore, I don't think oh no, he did Matt Moore play week 1?
yes, he did.
Yeah.
He's on the injury report with a questionable left hip. I know he had one goal. I want to say I know he had a goal and an assist. He may have had a second goal.
Hmm.
Um,
Um, yeah, but I mean, your point basically, like Connor Fields was the majority of the offense,
100%.
and you still won. I do feel like um, the goaltending battle is huge. Like that's something else that well, like, I mean, the Cannons went up against an elite goalie in Entenmann with the Whips with Krebs in net. I'm not really sure where he lands in the PLL goalie hierarchy. It feels like Dobson, Reardon, Kirst, and Entenmann are like your clearly defined top four
Yeah,
in some order. Um, and then I'm not really sure how much of a drop off there is from uh, Krebs. And I mean, I think McElroy has probably lost his job to Logan McNaney
yeah.
based on his week 1
Chase
performance.
Erlin looked great in the Redwoods game. And then we'll see what we get out of Dylan Ward this year. Kind of a down year last year, but I've heard he's picked it back up. And then they have Matt DeLuca behind him, so it'll be really interesting to see kind of what that Water Dogs team looks like. Not having played a game yet.
Yeah, that's another big question, obviously. And their prize for the next 15 years of CJ Kirst. We're not going to see him on the field for a while, but
Right.
yeah, I guess my point initially was just to say, the Cannons offense did very well against an elite goalie and I think good defense with Makar, Adler, and Rexroad. So we'll see how facing a elite goalie and elite defense.
Yeah.
Whereas the Whips, I don't yeah, I just don't think they have as much defensive depth as either the Cannons or the Archers have,
Yeah.
or the Atlas. And
Yeah.
I mean obviously the Cannon or the Atlas lost Danny Logan, who is an elite player as well for
Yeah.
the short sleeve position.
What do you think the like defense and attack matchups are going to be this weekend?
Ooh, so I mean, it's been Hasek on Nolting the last couple years, so that one's probably
That's kind
staying.
of a given. But then do you want to put the rookie on Marcus Holman? Because I mean, it looked to me like Will Manning was getting a short stick, and that was a theme when the Chaos beat us in the playoffs for 3 years in a row. They would just put a shorty on Manny. So you know, that's a known quantity. So maybe the Archers employ that. So I don't know really what to think. Obviously, like Campbell's got to have a pull. Um, you know, the rest of the like Drenner, you just got to not let him get his hands free. So I'll be interested to see where Jeffrey and Lavelle end up. I lean Jeffrey on Holman and Lavelle probably like picking up a Mick Kelly out of the box maybe. But I'm curious to hear what y'all think.
Yeah, I mean, also we got to wonder if McAfee is going to be playing instead of Manny, or
Yeah,
if he's going to run out of the box. I mean, Will Manny certainly, based on his performance week one, you would want to keep him in the lineup, or you certainly can't justify taking him out based on his performance.
right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he and Holman are like catch and shoot off ball players where you don't necessarily need a pull. I do also think I don't know, the chaos defense, like they not that other teams don't trust their goalie, but they just like they know Blaze just has it where if they do their jobs right,
Yeah,
Blaze is gonna make the save. Again, not that Dobson can't or won't. Yeah, it is fascinating because I guess Lavelle was on Rambo, but
yep.
Rambo played more towards the crease though.
He's
Yeah,
just a bigger body. I mean, that's Lavelle is more of the Hasek type where he wants to get into the body and beat you with size and positioning rather than like an Epple who's really just or like an Epple or Rowlett who's going to try and throw crazy checks and cause turnovers.
yeah. Yeah, and that's not really the type of game that Manny or Holman want to play. I feel like Holman does it a little bit more, but neither of them are, big physical dodgers the way that Asher is.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, it does leave you the option of double pulling the midfield and maybe, yeah, definitely Matt Campbell and then either Mick Kelly or Connor Kirst, um, or yeah, I guess those are the big dodging threats. Although Drenner obviously proved he can. I've seen that highlight of him like split dodging Chad
Yes,
Cominsky
that was
pouring Pepe.
awesome.
But it's like Comizio is like throwing himself up to try to block the shot, and then like obviously, if you're not facing the guy, you can't really play defense when he face dodges you. Uh,
Right.
yeah, it's interesting. I would love to be on one of these Zoom calls so badly where they talk about the game plan. We have got a great relationship with Cole Cholman. I'm not sure that we have that kind of.
He's not going to remove that red tape yet.
No, I think we got to put another year of groundwork first.
Yeah. So where do you think your defense goes on our attack?
Um, hmm. So I mean, obviously Schreiber gets the pole to start with. Um, so it'd be more would be playing attack along
Yep.
with Fields and
Fields.
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. I feel like Fields you want someone who can match feet, but also is very physical.
Yeah.
Um, like and so that's
I think
probably
if you
not
don't put
Keelty.
Garrett Apple on him, you're getting at least 2 goals out of Fields. So
Yeah. Um, I feel like maybe that's the Bryce Young matchup.
okay.
And maybe Keelty is, I don't know where you put Keelty because you want him to be kind of close to home to like communicate and be the slide. But I don't know what Archer's player is going to be that like closest to the crease, basically. Maybe it's like because they're all kind of dodging. They're all well, O'Keefe's not as much of a dodging threat, but he's not near the crease certainly because that's not, if you shoot 105 miles an hour,
Yeah.
you're served a little bit away from the goal. Yeah, that's a fascinating. Jack, do you have any thoughts?
Beats me.
Yeah,
I that's Brian Holman's job, not mine.
yeah, and John Adurnas. Uh, yeah, that is interesting. And then the other middies, I mean, the shorties just take them, but it would be what I guess King is running out of the box.
King, Schreiber, Dyson's probably the
Yeah.
starters.
And then yeah, and then you got geez, we just talked about him. I can't remember.
Like
Uh
you'll have like Bryce Ford in the back, and maybe probably Richie Connell this week if I had to guess. Oh, and Ambler.
Mm.
yeah. Who is Richie Connell? He did not play week one. Is he a rookie as well?
No, no, yeah, no, he was an undrafted from last year, I think, out of Denver.
Oh, let me look him up.
Did he
Um,
play at all last
No,
year?
he joined this past offseason, I think even after Champ Series.
oh yeah, Denver
Mm.
2024. And no stats, but they haven't updated him as well. Damn, 6'5", 220.
He's
Good
11.
size.
Is Connell, yeah. Uh that is I mean that's a tough matchup. Canadian. Um Hill Academy. Oh wait, no, it says American, but it also says he went to the Hill Academy. Wow. He must be
I
taking
think
Luke very serious.
he's roommates with Dobson in Atlanta, so I think he's Canadian. I don't know
Okay.
why they have an American flag on his name.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. Um, all right.
So I don't know. That last spot is kind of up for grabs. So the offensive guys will be Moore, O'Keefe, Fields, Schreiber, Ambler, Dyson, King, and then there one more between like Richie Connell, Shipley, and Bryce Ford.
Yeah. And you feel like after Bryce Ford's week one performance, you maybe want to see what someone else can do.
I
No
think
offense
it's
to Bryce Ford.
yeah, great time to see some fresh blood.
Yeah, and to be fair to him, he's probably very tired and probably also hurt
Yeah,
because he played in the national championship game. And I didn't feel like they, much like the NHL, not that it's, it's not as intense, but no one's probably completely healthy by the
right.
end of that. Particularly because there's really not much of a break. So hopefully he can rest up and play a little better later on in the year.
Yeah,
And then from the Cannon side, you obviously got, I'm assuming Will Manny, Holman, Nolting, and then Campbell, Drenner, Connor Kirst, um, Mick Kelly, Hogg. I guess
lots
you
of
want.
Maxey.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to return the same lineup, or do you want to try Maxi out of the box? That's something that I'm yeah, can't wait for the lineups to come out probably later in the day on Thursday. So,
Yep.
same day that you're listening to this, beloved listener. Um, yeah, I think just as much as Jack was clamoring to see Will Manny last year, I think fans are going to be clamoring to see Maxey this year. But I mean, if Will Manny keeps getting hat tricks, it's going to be hard to, hard to take Will Manny out.
I think you gotta run him out of the box though.
Maxey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Will Manny is perfect catching and shooting on the left wing, literally just the lefty Marcus Holman. And that was one of the things that I saw a lot talked about of why you would take Maxi over Hiltz is just how he's able to play so well off ball and move around. So I feel like he would be able to transition pretty well to coming out of the box then, especially because he can definitely shoot from up top.
yeah.
Yep.
I this has been something that's been kind of eating at me during the week is like the Archers had Marcus Holman and Will Manny for a number of years and didn't get over the hump until both of those players had left. Now, I don't think it's fair to blame them for the Archers' playoff failures,
Right.
because there were a lot of other things going on. I think, namely, Brett Dobson coming in and playing goalie has been a huge factor. But I mean, Jack, are you worried? And like, Jackson, do you have any other thoughts on like if the Holman Manny attack combo is maybe something that defenses feel they can deal with more easily than Ament, Moore, Fields, O'Keefe?
Yeah, I think part of the Archer success too has been Sis. He came in 2023. That whole class really was a big deal because that's Sis, Mar, Bond. I think JR was the year before. I'm trying to remember who our fourth round pick was that year. And then really Woodward last year.
Yeah,
Um, well, the first year we didn't even have to play the chaos in the playoffs, so that was kind of a running joke. Was we didn't have to play the chaos, that's why we won.
yeah,
And then last year we kind of slayed that demon with the one goal performance in the semis. No, I don't think it has anything to do with Holman, and I do think it is a little easier to put a shorty on Manny, but that teams have done that to O'Keefe too. So I don't. Yeah, it's definitely not fair to say. I think we just got a lot younger. Our short sticks were getting a little older. We were still kind of playing Mark McNeil for a little bit there. We did have Treasy in 21, I think, so that definitely helped.
Yeah.
But just finally getting it together, the Dobson thing was massive. No offense to Gittleman, but
Yeah.
it's Brett
He knows his role.
Dobson. And then yeah, the assist thing I think helped a lot too. Winning all the we would go 45% or less in a lot of games, and even having three or four more offensive possessions is a big deal.
Yeah, that's true. I gave Dobson a lot of credit. I forgot as well. I mean, the short stick trio that you guys have with Marbond and I can't
Pedersen,
uh sorry, I
Bo
can't
Peterson.
Pedersen, yeah, that's right. Is yeah, that's an elite trio as well. And yeah, Sisselberger, like a face-up guy that you can trust and knows going to give you the ball a good amount of the time.
Yeah.
Um, is probably a bigger transformation than just replacing Holman and Manny with Moore slash Ament and Mac
Well, and
O'Keefe.
it allowed Fields to play attack full time. He was running out of the box for us
Yeah.
with Manny. So, and really, really with the evolution of the PLL game, I mean, I think they talk about it on the broadcast all the time, but Fields has more goals inside of 10 seconds left on the shot clock than anybody in the league by probably a wide margin. It's just because he gets to his spot and then is fearless into the crease, kind of like Marcus Holman, jumps. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of factors.
Yeah. Yeah. So fear not, Cannons fans. We're not cursed because we have two of our most beloved and longest tenured PLO players playing attack for us.
Well, we are kind of cursed.
And I would love to
I'll
get,
just leave right now.
yeah, would love to get a little bit more cursed if CJ wants to opt out of his rookie contract. Maybe, I don't know, play in the NFL for a year or two and then come join the Cannons. Um,
Or go get Cole. They don't seem to want him in Cali.
yeah,
So
I was shocked and I had him on my fantasy team initially and took him out, but didn't realize I didn't save the lineup. Was he hurt at all, or was that just a
I think he's a healthy scratch.
yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because he is such a, I mean, I feel like such a huge part of that team's identity. Yeah, I mean, he's got no like IR or anything next to his name on the app.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't say no to a third cursed on the team, either Cole or CJ.
I think you might have to sell the farm for CJ.
Yeah, that would like what Tierney said. He'd have to pry the first overall pick from his cold dead hands or something like that. And now that it's actually CJ, yeah, might be a little. I don't know if we could blackmail him or whatever.
Leave
Uh,
that to y'all. We're gonna worry about the West.
yeah, but I guess just to briefly touch on that other, lacrosse family whose brothers all have the same initial. I guess we know who Jared's favorite brother is, joining the
Yeah,
Outlaws.
right.
And now, yeah, the four Tuaraton winners on the same
It's
team.
unreal. I did see somebody saying, "Oh, they should move that game to ABC." I'm like, no, no. You want this is a potential finals matchup in Archer's Cannons. You're in no world should you take this game off of ABC. It's going to be beautiful weather. I'll be slamming the over. Um, it's awesome. I
No, even
wish I got an email today. The PLL is upgrading my seats to field seats for the night game, and I really wish they were doing it for that first game. But um, you know,
I don't know, you'll be slamming the over even with those elite defenses and goals you were just talking about.
well, I'm sure the overall under will be 20, anywhere from 22 and a half to 24 and a half, and I think this game probably goes 14-13, 14-12. So yes, I do like the over still.
All right. Well, let me check the my sports book of choice here. It was just as a reminder, 14-9 last year, so that would have been 23 and a half. All right, yeah. So that
Yep.
that over would have hit last year.
Yep.
Wait, no, it wouldn't have.
Yep. Just by half a goal. I don't know
Yep.
how they do these lines, but they're usually
Yeah,
pretty
they
good.
they get it so right so often. It is remarkable. Yeah, there's it's 21 and a half for Woods Chaos. That's I mean, I guess none of us expect the Chaos to score a lot.
No.
And then you still have a good defense. So yeah, 23 and a half, which is, yeah, I guess 24 and a half is kind of the highest they go.
Yeah.
So can't feel too crazy about that. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think we all kind of root for the over, right? It's
It's more fun that way.
yeah, no offense to, I mean, again, the weather was a factor, but don't feel like I need to see a lot more 8-7 games this
No.
season. And definitely don't want to see any more games in the rain, although it does look pretty when they score.
Yes. They need to figure out a way to spread the nets down constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Baby powder or something on them during the
Right.
recovery. Yeah, all right. I guess any more closing thoughts on this coming game before or the weekend in general?
No, and just know I'll be there hurling soft insults at the Cannons defensive players and things like you look like you can't swim. You look like coach still has to tie your shoes. Just lighthearted. So any
Mhm.
Cannons players, I don't actually dislike you. I'm just, it's a mental game.
I mean, yeah, likewise. I definitely don't hate anyone on the Archers. I mean, especially, top down. Tom Schreiber is a really hard guy to hate.
Yeah.
Captain America.
Yep, but I will not be rooting for him this weekend. All right,
I
yeah,
just hope
Jackson.
everybody has fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think I have that sign somewhere. That I just hope both teams have fun. I've brought that to a couple of games in the past.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we uh I guess the game has gone very far from its roots, but it does have that medicine game quality that it's just good to play, good for you.
100%.
But everyone stay safe out there and be nice to each other. Playful insults only.
Yeah.
Like Jackson. Yeah, I guess I mean you're gonna be there both days, I assume.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, enjoy the beautiful Charlotte weather. Enjoy some lovely Carolina barbecue, although I guess you live in Carolina, so you can have that whenever you want.
That all the time.
Yeah, Jackson, thanks for coming on. Hopefully, we are talking to you again in September for a finals preview.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, enjoy the weekend. And yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right.
And thanks again to Jackson for hopping on here. Great guy, always great having him on. We talked a bit about it off air, but he's just so knowledgeable about the game of lacrosse. It's truly kind of blows me away, honestly. We're supposed to be these super fans. We got this podcast, and I feel like, dude, like, why don't you have a podcast? Like, you know so much more than me.
Yeah, he's so plugged in with everything the league has going on. I think he said when we were doing prices right, he basically has like I think push notifications for Twitter for like all 8 teams and for the league. So just anything that comes out, he's on top of it, and that clearly shines through. Like knowing the matchups, knowing the lineups, knowing the injury reports.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think the league and the lacrosse world could definitely benefit from him. I think that's something that I've encouraged him to do in the past, and hope he does that in the future because I feel like he's definitely going to be able to bring some people to the game. Like he said, he gets all his coworkers in on it through through betting, but is whatever it takes. I feel like it's still growing in the South, or I feel like he's down there in South Carolina that hearing someone talk with your in your voice, your accent, and all that can definitely help bring you to the game, make it feel like it's for you. Because I feel like that is something that lacrosse is definitely struggling with its image kind
Hmm.
of nationwide and outside of the Northeast. Um, yeah, so I mean, very outside the Northeast, we got down in Charlotte, North Carolina, Boston playing Utah. So. I guess just to return to the matchup this week. Oh shoot, I'm just realizing we forgot to get a score prediction from Jackson. That
That's
was
all right, because he would have given an incorrect one.
that's right, yeah, because he probably would have had Utah winning. Although he did say the over, so we'll count that as you just counting a high scoring game. Um, Yeah, I don't know, Jack. What do you have for this weekend?
First two numbers that come to my mind are 11-9 Boston. Don't ask me to give you any analysis or prediction. That's just what came to my head and just feels correct.
Yeah, I think I can see that. That would mean Jackson's wrong. The under would hit. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think these are two elite defenses, and Hasek has done a great job of shutting down Asher when they've played in the past couple of years. Cannons probably aren't going to get 5 2-point goals again. So I'm not gonna mirror you with 11-9, but I'll say 12-10 Cannons. Um,
All right.
Yeah, I think someone's getting a two for Boston. Probably not Zach Tucci again, but no complaints if that if that does happen. Um, yeah, would love to see one of the polls get it, whether it's Grant or Rawl or and we joked with Jack Keelty, maybe he gets his first career goal. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know what it would take for that to happen because he does not want to carry the ball over the midline, but you never know.
He'd have to huck it at the end of the quarter, I think.
Yeah, he chucked it full field and someone's standing right in
Little
front of him.
Brody Merrill action.
Yep. Man, I hope that happens. Yeah. So that is just a reminder. I'll confirm the time here, but I'm almost positive it is Saturday at 1.
Yes,
Uh,
it is
yeah,
on linear.
that's
Not
right.
only on linear, on broadcast television. You don't even need cable to watch this game.
Yeah, ABC. Obviously ESPN Plus as well, but yeah, this is hopefully a game that's going to get a lot of eyeballs. Maybe people who are channel surfing or who were interested in checking out the PLL, but didn't want to spend money on ESPN Plus. So hopefully we get a good crowd of people who are people in New England cheering on Boston or people from outside New England who love to hate on Boston. But do that. It only makes us stronger. Um, yeah, I think that's about all we got for you. So we'll be back on Monday with a recap, whatever happens, whether it's a 12-10 Cannons win or an 11-9 Cannons win. Um, yeah, we'll obviously be watching the game. And I think until next week, go Cannons.
Go Cannons.
Boom!
Boo!